Hello and welcome to our webinar, Killer Reads, Upcoming Mysteries, Thrillers, and True Crime. I'm Annie Bostrom, Adult Books Senior Editor at Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by typing the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a section for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions and will pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable them on your screen, please look for and click the Show Captions icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of them at any time by selecting Captions Settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates this standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Margaret Coffey, Senior Director of Sales, Library and Education, and Indie Specialist at Sourcebooks, Amanda Cremarco, Library Marketing Director at Macmillan Library Marketing, Rudy Martinez, Director of Marketing at Soho Press, and Maureen Meekins, Marketing Manager at Penguin Random House Library Marketing. We will begin with Margaret Coffey. Margaret is what you call a senior publishing professional, having toiled in both sales and marketing for decades. Before joining Sourcebooks 7 years ago, she worked at a variety of publishers, including Penguin, Candlewick, and Scholastic, on such properties as Winnie the Pooh, Waldo, Harry Potter, The Hunger Games, and Goosebumps. Take it away, Margaret.
Thank you so much, Annie. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. We appreciate your support all year. I'm looking forward to telling you about some of our amazing upcoming mystery and thriller titles. Next slide, please. Please follow us on social media, sign up for our well-read librarian newsletter, and assess our assets on our website. Try saying that 20 times quickly. All right, on to the next slide. Let's start with An Arcane Inheritance, which is a modern-day dark academia speculative fantasy with a romance twist, perfect for fans of Babel and A Deadly Education, and written by Camilla Cole, who is moving to the adult space. Ellery Morgan is determined to earn her place at Warren University, a prestigious school for BIPOC students, steeped in eerie rumors and occult secrets. But a strange déjà vu creeps in, and she discovers a tattoo with the word remember written in her own handwriting. Ellery realizes that this isn't her first time at Warren. She's been trapped in a repeating illusion for 3 years. Her only ally is Hudson Graves, an infuriating legacy student who shares her distrust of the school. As they unravel Warren's dark magic and hidden history, powerful enemies close in. Ellery must uncover who's controlling her mind before she forgets herself again. Next slide. For readers of The Trouble with Goats and Sheep and Dear Edward, The List of Suspicious Things is a dark yet uplifting coming-of-age story about friendship, family, and the secrets of a small town. When a series of murders shakes Yorkshire, 11-year-old Miv's father wants to move the family away, but Miv refuses to leave. With her best friend Sharon, the girls set out to prove their town is safe by making a list of everything and everyone suspicious. As they investigate, their search for the killer uncovers hidden truths about their neighborhood, their families, and themselves as the mystery hits closer to home than Miv ever imagined. Next slide. From #1 best-selling self-published author Ilya Alexander comes I'm so sorry, who penned Love Mom, comes a twisty, fast-paced psychological thriller perfect for fans of Frida McFadden. Natalie's best friend leaves the dance club with a handsome stranger and is found unconscious at a bus stop the next morning. What happened that night? Only Natalie's friend knows, except she's in the hospital, in a coma. When Natalie sees a handsome man on the cover of a financial magazine, she recognizes the man of the year as the stranger her friend left the club with. He's a millionaire. He's famous. He's untouchable. Desperate for answers, she takes a job as housekeeper at his mansion, but she realizes she may have walked straight into his trap instead of him walking into hers. Next slide. All the Little Houses is a new Southern thriller by May Cobb, the author of the hit Netflix series, The Hunting Wives. In the mid-1980s, the tiny town of Longview, Texas, revolves around the powerful Anderson family. Blonde, beautiful, and ruthlessly ambitious, Charlie clawed her way to the top and will never let anyone stand in the way. But when the Swift family moves in, their back-to-nature charm captivates Longview, threatening everything Charlie has built. Determined to protect her empire, she launches a campaign to crush them. Yet in her relentless drive to hold power, she begins spinning a web that could ensnare her own family. Next slide. You never think it could happen to you. New York Times bestselling author Sophie Hannah spins a delightful web of family rivalry, a wild road trip adventure, and humankind's deep love of dogs in No One Would Do What the Lamperts Have Done. A fascinating, twisty tale of suspense that is wholly unique, unexpectedly heartwarming, and will keep you hooked until the very last page. The doorbell. The policeman. The words that turn your world inside out. I'm afraid there's been an incident. For Sally Lampert, those words mean only one thing: danger. Not just for her family, but for Champ, their loyal and beloved dog. Not just a dog, of course, but a member of the family. A single accusation, a neighbor's grudge, and suddenly the Lamperts are trapped in a nightmare with no escape. Unless they make one. Most people would never run. Most people would never leave behind everything they know to protect an animal who can't defend themselves. But most people aren't the Lamperts. Next slide. For fans of Sign Here and How to Be a Dark Lord and Die Trying comes a darkly comedic, genre-blending mystery following a female personified death who must investigate a string of unplanned murders before the whole world is thrown in chaos. Her job is literally to die for. When most people think of death, they picture a skeleton in a black potato sack with a scythe. Truth is, she's just a woman doing a job, and she's very good at it. Still, even death needs a break. When she finally takes some time off to live on Earth, things start to go horribly wrong. Someone is killing people not on her list. To make matters worse, her sanctimonious sister Life, whom death hasn't gotten along with in a millennia, won't start blaming her for the unplanned deaths. So after all, who's better to investigate a murder than death herself? Next slide. No Sourcebooks mystery thriller presentation would be complete without a new book from #1 New York Times and global bestselling author Frida McFadden. For all the Frida Ritas out there, here's Dear Debbie, a darkly funny, razor-sharp thriller about a woman who decides to take her own advice. Literally. Debbie Mullen, beloved columnist of Dear Debbie, has spent years helping women deal with selfish, lying husbands. But lately, her own world is falling apart. She's lost her job, her daughters are out of control, and you know what? Her husband is hiding something. After years of preaching patience and understanding, Debbie's done being reasonable. She's ready to put her advice into practice by making the men who hurt women finally pay for their sins. Wickedly twisted and deliciously subversive, Dear Debbie is a tense, gripping tale of revenge, justice, and the dangerous power of following your own rules. Next slide. If you're a fan of Tana French or Frida McFadden, Imposter is the book for you. L.J. Ross's gripping thriller blends forensic insight with haunting atmosphere as a criminal psychologist is drawn into a chilling murder case in rural Ireland that may reveal more about himself than the killer he's chasing. Dr. Alexander Gregory, a psychologist recovering from the collapse of a prestigious criminal profiling unit, wants nothing more than a quiet life, but his rare ability to understand the minds of violent offenders makes him hard to ignore, especially when a small town in Ireland's hills are shaken by a brutal murder. Reluctantly pulled into the case, Gregory finds himself confronting not only a cunning predator, but the darker corners of his own mind. Tense, atmospheric, and laced with dark wit, Imposter is a character-driven thriller that explores how far we'll go to understand and survive the darkness around us. Next slide. From best-selling indie thriller writer Natalie Borelli comes a riveting novel about Rose, a woman who sees her darkest secrets published in a popular novel and knows her carefully constructed life is about to unravel. The author, Emily Harper, claims the story is fiction, but Rose knows better. Desperate to find out how Emily discovered her deepest secrets, Rose ingratiates herself into the author's life, posing as an eager assistant and adoring fan. But as Rose gets closer to the truth, long-buried memories resurface. Slowly, the horrifying events of her teenage years come into focus, revealing that sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones you should be most afraid of. Next slide. Sisters forever. Friends never. When former sorority sisters gather for an engagement party, their reluctant reunion moves from awkward to uncomfortable to excruciating as each reveals the part she played in a tragedy during spring break 25 years ago. We Were Never Friends is an unputdownable, riveting train wreck full of dark humor and bad behavior. They've been summoned to Roxy's luxurious Palm Springs vacation home to celebrate the engagement of her son to Beth's daughter. But the refurbished 1920s home is eerily reminiscent of the hotel where their friend Sonny tragically drowned 25 years ago. As the alcohol flows, long simmering tensions and shocking secrets begin rising to the surface like bodies. Because while this weekend was supposed to be about celebrating the future, it's not so easy to bury the past. Next slide. And the Sea Gave Up the Dead is a new LGBTQ plus horror from the author of Let Him In. Morwenna has avoided her family's crumbling seaside chateau by the French seaside for years, ever since her uncle mysteriously vanished, and her aunt, Beth Ann, appears guilty. The locals whisper, but Rowena knows grief is the only thing consuming Beth Ann. When a disturbing phone call forces her return, she brings her children and partner for a week's stay. But the chateau changes people. Old magic has seeped into the ground. The village remembers what happened at the grand old house centuries ago. They remember who died and what came back. Soon this place will leave its mark on Moana's family, and she cannot escape the feeling that unless she learns the truth about what happened to her uncle, something ancient and evil will rise, and a dark history will repeat itself at the chateau. Next slide. For fans of This Girl's a Killer and Joanna Wallace comes a quirky, queer, crime-filled mystery following a contract killer who breaks all her rules when she's hired to kill someone who doesn't exist. Oh well, these things happen. Contract killer Robbie McNeil never asks questions. Her mission's simple: do the job, get paid, get back to running the karaoke bar she owns with her queer platonic partner and fellow contact worker, Dee. And it works. Until their ambitious new theatrical venture breaks the bank. When a mysterious new client hires Robbie for a hit, she takes the job, even though it's sketchy as hell. He won't tell her anything but the target's name, but hey, she didn't build a reputation by being curious, and she desperately needs the cash. Except something about this new target doesn't add up. When he disappears with no record he ever existed, she chucks her no questions asked policy out the window, determined to figure out who this target really is. But the price for asking questions is high and might just cost Robbie everything she holds dear. Next slide. For fans of The Watchers and T. Kingfisher comes a queer post-apocalyptic horror story, an eerie and emotional tale of survival, love, and sacrifice. This post-apocalyptic fantasy follows one young woman's journey across a ravaged world to save her brother and uncover the truth behind the monsters that destroyed it. 19-year-old Sarah has spent years wandering the wasteland with her family, barely surviving the horrors that lurked beyond each night. When her brother Noah is taken by the terrifying inhuman witch creatures that wiped out most of humanity, Sarah will do anything to bring him back. Joined by Parsley, a mysterious stranger who offers her help and captures her heart, Sarah sets out on a perilous journey. But as their bond deepens and secrets surface, Sarah begins to wonder who Parsley really is and what the monsters truly want with her brother. And for my last title, The Guncle meets Every Time I Go on Vacation, Someone Dies, in this fun, quirky mystery about privilege, purpose, and murder at summer camp. I can't tell you, this book is so fun. Mickey Hartford IV has it all: money, charm, and a trust fund waiting for him on his 30th birthday. But after one too many reckless splurges, his father cuts him off until he can prove he can make a real difference, which is how Mikey ends up at Camp Lore, a failing summer camp in upstate New York, volunteering for the summer. He's barely surviving mosquito bites and middle schoolers when his campers stumble onto the local legend of a missing counselor, and the ghost story turns chillingly real. As secrets surface and bodies start to pile up, Mikey must uncover the truth before Camp Lore and his inheritance go up in flames. Thank you so much for listening. Happy Halloween week, and over to Amanda.
Thank you so much, Margaret. And now we will hear from Amanda Cremarco. Amanda is the Library Marketing Director and coordinates the library marketing activities of Macmillan's adult publishers, which include St. Martin's Publishing Group, Henry Holt, Tor Publishing Group, Picador, Farrar Straus Giroux, Celadon, Wednesday, and Flatiron Books. After saying farewell to her home state of Georgia and attending NYU's Summer Publishing Institute, Amanda joined the library marketing world and never looked back. A longtime lover of libraries, Amanda loves to share her passion for all things fantasy, sci-fi, romance, and horror, but she'll read anything that comes with a good recommendation. Thanks for joining us, Amanda. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Annie. Like she said, I'm Amanda Cremarco with Macmillan, and I am so excited to be hanging out with everyone this afternoon. Here are all the ways you can find us on the internet, so definitely reach out if you have any questions after this presentation. Next slide, please. So I'm going to start off with some lighter mysteries, some cozies, some mystery blends. The first book I'm talking about today is Wreck Your Heart by Lori Rader Day. This is an engaging crime novel that follows an up-and-coming country singer who is just trying to catch her big break in the music scene. But just when she thinks she has hit rock bottom, an unexpected family reunion and a murder threatens to wreck everything in her life. This standalone crime story is set in the contemporary Midwest and already has a starred review from Library Journal that says, suspense novelist Rader Day changes pace with this sharply funny, heartfelt mystery, and every bit of it works. Its exploration of family secrets will delight fans of Nina Simon's Mother-Daughter Murder Night and Nita Prose's The Maid. Next is Cross Your Heart and Hope He Dies by Jenny Elder Moak. A woman has no time for love, too busy dominating the publishing world by single-handedly saving her company from financial ruin with the book deal of the century, a business magnate's explosive memoir that promises to expose the secrets of his ultra-exclusive country club. But when the author drops dead and the manuscript stolen, she suspects that someone was willing to resort to murder to keep their secrets from being exposed. Enlisting the help of a doctor with a heart of gold and abs of steel, she dives into the glamorous and messy world of the club as the bodies keep dropping, and she is teed up to take the blame. This is a twisty mystery rom-com blend with outrageous characters, laugh-out-loud jokes, and opposites attract romance, and it'll have a library hardcover edition. Next is This Story Might Save Your Life by Tiffany Crum. Best friends Benny and Joy like to say they've been saving each other's lives since the moment they met, until the day Joy goes missing and Benny is accused of her disappearance. With unforgettable characters and sparkling dialogue, this is going to sit on the shelf with the crackling suspense of Listen for the Lie, The Last Thing He Told Me, and First Lie Wins, and adds the heartwarming romance of Just for the Summer and The Love of My Life. Next is Stakeouts and Strollers by Rob Phillips. In this award-winning debut, an amateur private investigator and new dad gets more than he bargained for when he agrees to track down a young girl's missing father. It's a perfect blend of humor and high stakes, and a heartwarming story of fatherhood, family, and what it really means to be a girl dad. But this is going to be perfect for readers who enjoy the slightly cozier side of mystery like Fanny Donovan, Vera Wong, and Savvy Summers. And I think it just has one of the most adorable covers, in my opinion. Next, we're going to transition into your detectives, your reporters, those classic investigative types. And next slide, please. The first title here is going to be Inside Man by John McMahon. Introduced initially in Head Cases, Inside Man brings back an enigmatic misfit group of FBI agents who specialize in cold cases and cases no one else can solve. Their latest case involves a militia group stockpiling weapons. When their confidential informant in the case is killed and their investigation exposes even more crimes, they find the case escalating in dangerous ways. This new series is a great combination of Mindhunter, True Detective, and Slow Horses, and will be perfect for any readers who like their thrillers with a really engaging cast of characters. Next is Dirty Metal. This is a gritty crime debut set in New York City in 1992. A tenacious reporter for a gossip tabloid has a big black mark on her record from her last crime story, and a pill addiction she's hoping will erase the memory. Her new assignment is to cover Russian criminals who are arriving in Brighton Beach, but her old beat is calling to her after she learns of a murder that the cops want to ignore. Juggling both stories at once, she must fight the pull of her addiction and the men standing her way to find the truth and redemption for herself and the victims. This is darkly funny with a sarcastic and sharp main character you'll love to read about. Think Natasha Lyonne in Russian Doll mixed with Lois Lane, while the read itself combines the richness of Tana French, the grit of Dennis Lehane, and the readability of Megan Miranda. Next is How to Get Away with Murder by Rebecca Phillipson. This fresh debut thriller finds a Scotland Yard detective trying to find the author of a self-help book that promises quite literally to teach readers how to get away with murder, which seems to have inspired London's newest murderer. Told from the detective's point of view and through snippets from the anonymous serial killer's self-published how-to murder guide, this becomes a real meta thriller as the detective dives deeper into the details and the history of the book, and will be great for fans of Tana French's In the Woods and Notes on an Execution. Next is Guilt by Keigo Higashino. This is the Library Reads Hall of Famer's first standalone crime novel published in English in almost a decade, where a homicide detective in the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department is assigned to investigate the death of a lawyer when a false confession ties this death to another crime 30 years ago, and the connection between these murders raises questions of guilt and innocence. Next slide, please. Now we're going to transition into, your amateurs, your wrong place, wrong time types who stumble upon some excitement. The first title here is A Murder Will Out by Jennifer K. Breedlove. Coastal Maine comes to life in this debut about a woman who returns to her godmother's sprawling mansion after learning of her death, soon starting to question whether her death was really an accident and can't help but wonder whether someone in this sleepy island is willing to stop at nothing, even murder, to claim her house for their own. This lighter, atmospheric, kind of a modern Gothic mystery is perfect for fans of Murder, She Wrote, Booked for Murder, and The Curse of Penrith Hall. And this book was the winner of the Minotaur Books Mystery Writers of America First Crime Novel Award. Next is The Survivor by Andrew Reed. A hijacked New York subway train, an anonymous killer, and a young man trapped by his hidden past converge in a breathless, breathtaking thriller. Andrew Reed spent a decade researching topics like DNA and forensics, giving him a unique perspective on writing a thriller like this. Full of intense action and smart twists, this heart-pounding thriller will take you on a ride you will never forget. Next is A Killer in the Family by Amin Ahmad. Ali Azim, a naive Muslim bachelor from Mumbai, thinks he has hit the jackpot when he agrees to an arranged marriage with the daughter of a self-made real estate tycoon and one of the richest men in New York. But shortly after the newlyweds move into one of the city's most luxurious apartments, he finds out that beneath her father's success lies sinister deeds. This is an unforgettable, riveting portrait of power and family secrets that combines the family corporate drama of Succession with the lavish lifestyle of Crazy Rich Asians. Next is Last One Out by Jane Harper, the best-selling author of Exiles and The Dry, among others, returns with the story of a modern ghost town with just a handful of residents clinging on to what remains. When one of the former residents returns on the anniversary of her son's disappearance, she begins to suspect that something important was overlooked in his case. He was working on an oral history of the town before he vanished, and while nothing can stop the town from dying, someone seems to want to make sure that its secrets die with it. Next is your psychological thrillers, your twists and turns. Oh my! And first there is The Fairweather Friend by Jessie Garcia, and this was the Library Reads author of The Business Trip. It is always sunny in Detroit for popular TV meteorologist Faith Richards, but one night Faith leaves work on a dinner break and never returns. Her body is found the next morning. The town is reeling, suspects emerge, and long-buried secrets are uncovered. Like the characters in her novel, Jessie Garcia has had a successful career in news, and her experience really informs her writing. Add to that her signature multi-POV rapid-fire style, and this book is going to sweep you away. Next is Good Intentions by Marissa Walls. This debut is a twisted, gripping psychological suspense. A successful event planner's perfect life comes crashing down when her twin sister has an accident and dies. But instead of processing her grief, she becomes obsessed with Morgan, a grieving mother she met at the hospital, believing that she is needed to help the mother process her own loss. But could she have darker motives in doing so? The layers of her past are peeled back with surgical precision, while her attempts to right Morgan's world, whether she wants the help or not, grow increasingly desperate. This sits right in that sweet spot of pulse-pounding suspense and emotionally rich book club fiction, and will invite deeper conversations about how grief and secrets can unravel perfect lives and sound minds. Next is The Girls Before, excuse me, by Kate Alice Marshall. This follows two women, one trapped in a basement with only her imagination and the scribbles on the wall left by long dead girls to keep her company. The other is a search and rescue expert on the hunt for her best friend who disappeared when they were teenagers. When she finds evidence that a teenage runaway might actually have been kidnapped, she will have to dig through decades of secrets to reveal the biggest one of all: what happened to the girls before. Like her previous books, this thriller is sharp, propulsive, and just twists galore. Next is Harmless Women by Rebecca Sharp. This is about a con artist who chooses the wrong woman as her target, and both women end up on the run for their lives. Think Thelma and Louise meets the pulse-pounding survival story of Bright Young Women, the cat and mouse chase of Stone Cold Fox, and the high-stakes scams of You Can Trust Me. It's pacey, fresh, and suspenseful, and really highlights the fortitude of women, featuring two complex female leads you can't help but root for. Next slide, please. Here is just going to quick run through of some familiar names that we are nonetheless very excited to see on this list. Would I Kill You? New York Times bestseller. B.A. Paris returns with a triumphant, unsettling new domestic suspense novel about a woman running from her dangerous past who starts to feel like she's being watched. The Storm by Rachel Hawkins. This is a thrilling new Gothic suspense about a Gulf Coast beach motel where hurricane season can be murder. And My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney. The Queen of Twists is back with a psychological masterpiece that will leave you questioning everything you know about love, identity, and revenge. Next slide, please. So some people, including me, really enjoy some spooks along with their thrills, and these thrillers kind of toe the line between thriller and horror. Nowhere Burning by Katrina Ward. This is the author of The Last House on Needless Street, Sundial, Looking Glass Sound, and more. And here she returns with the story of two siblings who join other feral children on an abandoned ranch with something dark living in its depths. This is the perfect next read for fans of the show Yellow Jackets. Katrina Ward is a Library Reads Hall of Famer, a Shirley Jackson Award winner, a Bram Stoker Award finalist, and all of her books can be found on myriad best books of the year lists. Her books are for fans of darker, twistier thrillers and complicated heroines looking for their next fix after devouring the latest from Ashley Elston, Geneva Rose, and Mary Kubica, as well as fans of Grady Hendrix, Stephen Graham Jones, and Stephen King. Next is Dark is When the Devil Comes by Daisy Pierce. Something in the Walls just came out this past February and was a library reads pick among other accolades. And I am so excited for this next horror thriller. A woman plans to return home in the wake of her embarrassing divorce and crumbling personal life, but she never shows up. Now her sister knows something isn't adding up, but as other townspeople whisper of the threat in the restless woods. If you read Something in the Walls, then you know how well she writes that creeping dread that then just goes off the walls. So I'm excited to dive into this one. And next slide, I wanted to end on one true crime that I am very excited about, and that is The Blood Countess by Shelley Puhak. This is a true crime and feminist history of the Blood Countess, Elizabeth Bathory, who was alleged to be the world's most prolific female serial killer, killing as many as 650 girls. But in drawing on new evidence, the author re-examines the legend of the Blood Countess to explore if she was instead a victim of one of the most successful disinformation campaigns in history, and shows how far societies will go to destroy women in power. And next slide. That is it from me today. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with us this afternoon, and please feel free to reach out with any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Next, we'll now hear from Rudy Martinez. Rudy is the Director of Marketing at Soho Press, where he has worked for over a decade promoting titles from Soho Press, Soho Crime, Soho Teen, and Hell's 100 imprints. He is based in New York City. Take it away, Rudy.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for being here with us. I've got all new titles coming up from our Soho Crime imprint. That's all mysteries and thrillers. Just a quick note that everything that I'm going to talk about today is available for request on Edelweiss and NetGalley. We have a librarian newsletter. Please sign up for it. You can see the bit.ly down in the corner. I think it's pretty useful, and it goes out every other month. So let's get into it. First up, a debut literary mystery from Scottish author Frances Crawford, A Bad, Bad Place. I love this novel. It is already one of my favorites that I've read from the entirety of our 2026 year. It's a lively, heartfelt, creepy mystery that's totally suffused with the specificity of its setting. So the story opens in 1979 in the working class Glasgow neighborhood of Postle Park. And it's here we meet 12-year-old Janie, who's walking her dog near an abandoned railway when she finds the body of a murdered woman who is later identified as the daughter of a notorious gang member in Glasgow. This is obviously a hugely traumatic experience for Janie, and she literally loses pieces of her memory from that day. But she's this really cool, creative, tough, driven girl, and she wants to honor the memory of this woman, remember her somehow, work through this traumatic moment. And the best way she can think to do it is by building this kind of scrapbook dedicated to this woman, which leads her into this sort of investigative capacity within her neighborhood. But then we also get the perspective kind of simultaneously of Janie's grandmother, whose name is Maggie. And this death is a reminder for her of some traumatic events in her family's own past. And as the gossip about what may have happened to this woman begins to fly around the pub where she works, and her instinct to protect her daughter, or her granddaughter rather, from, some of these maybe more malicious pieces of gossip kicks in, she begins to sort of poke around on her own. This book manages to be a really poignant coming of age story, a compassionate portrait of a complex, specific Glaswegian community. It's got this, it's peppered with this dialect that at first is a little opaque, but then as soon as it clicks, it just becomes this amazing piece of I don't know, kind of like specific identity that you get from this place. And it's also just a riveting mystery. So think it's God of the Woods, Shuggy Bain, Val McDermid, Tana French. A Bad, Bad Place is the first of what I hope is going to be a lot of mystery novels from Frances Crawford, and I hope that you'll check it out. Let's go on to the next one. Next up, a historical mystery. This is a series debut from the author of the 42nd Street Library Mysteries, Con Lehane. So Con's new series is set in 1950s New York and introduces Mick Mulligan. He's a newly minted PI in Hell's Kitchen. He's a former Hollywood cartoonist who was blacklisted during a communist witch hunt. He's broke, he's divorced, he needs a gig to pay his child support payments. Thus, he becomes a private investigator. So his first job is brought to him by a local labor leader, and his task is to investigate the murder of this universally reviled cab company owner named Irwin Johnson. One of Irwin's drivers, an African American Communist Party member named Harold, was arrested, tried, found guilty, of course, despite scant evidence. And with his execution date 2 weeks away, Mick may be the only person who can step in to give him some help. So, as with all historical fiction, research is obviously the name of the game, and you'll definitely get that here. But Khan is also a lifelong labor activist and labor educator. He's familiar with the story of corporate greed and corruption and the fight for workers' rights firsthand. He knows that power distorts truth and maintains itself at all costs. Anyway, all that to say, he's the real deal. This is a spirited, lively crime novel shot through with real authenticity. It's set in a distant but not bygone era, and unfortunately, its timing and its content becomes more relevant by the hour. So give this to people who are fans of kind of the titans of classic noir, and then more contemporary authors, Don Winslow, Joe Ide, Stephen Mac Jones. That's The Red Scare Murders by Con Lehane. Next up, What Boys Learn, a twisty, intense new psychological thriller from author Andromeda Romano Lax. Some of you may be familiar with her from some of her previous books, including her 2024 thriller release, The Deepest Lake. So What Boys Learn follows Abby Russo, a high school guidance counselor at a small private school that's just been rocked by the deaths of two girls who were enrolled as students. It's widely assumed initially that the girls committed suicide, and because of Abby's closeness with both of them, her competence as a guidance counselor is immediately called into question. But the police soon settle on the idea that these deaths were in fact suspicious, and her worries begin to take on this whole other cast when she starts to reconsider her own teenage son Ben's suspicious behavior and seemingly emotionless reactions to the news of his own classmates' deaths. So, of course, Abby doesn't want to believe that Ben could do anything terrible, but she also recognizes the signs of problematic behavior, not just because of her training as a counselor, but also because her own brother Owen is in prison for crimes he committed when he was just a little bit older than Ben. So, with all of the fear of knowing that the truth might be her family's undoing, Abby begins to look for answers about what happened to these two girls on her own. This is a jaw-dropping thriller, but it contends with some very raw, very important topics circulating in media and popular culture right now: legacies of violence, toxic masculinity, dark internet-born ideologies, fears around the increasing outcome gaps between boys and girls educationally, professionally, socially. This one's for readers of Lisa Jewell, Lucy Foley, Claire McIntosh, anyone who enjoyed the Netflix original series Adolescence. This is a big one for us. We hope you'll check it out. That's What Boys Learn from Andromeda Romano Lax. Next up, a new historical mystery from Sujata Massey and her Perveen mystery series set in 1920s India, The Star from Calcutta. As ever, Sujata is delivering a richly detailed, meticulously researched mystery starring India's first female solicitor. So this novel finds Perveen working on behalf of India's biggest silent film star, a woman named Rokhana, in the era that came just before Bollywood as we know it today. As she attempts to disentangle her family's film company from a studio contract in which she is kind of like the crown jewel. Rokhana is the star, she's at the heart of it all. So as Perveen digs into Rokhana's glamorous world, she finds herself in attendance at this exclusive screening of a big budget new film with her best friend Alice, who happens to be a huge movie buff. But as the event comes to a close, one of the guests, who happens to be a prominent film critic, is found dead, and Rokhana, the star of the movie, has disappeared. Now with a different legal obligation to Rokana and her family, which is to protect them in the face of a potential murder case, Praveen begins to investigate sort of what may have happened. So what she finds is this web of blackmail and deceit and affairs, and perhaps worst of all, her best friend Alice seems to be keeping some kind of secret about the night of the murder. So this series, which began with The Widows of Malabar Hill, I think has only gotten better. And this outing that's suffused with the glitz and the charm of old Indian cinema is a must-read for fans of Bollywood, any historical mystery reader really at all, and of course fans of this series. Think Kate Quinn, Charles Todd, Laurie King, Jacqueline Winspear. That's The Star from Calcutta by Sujata Massey. Next up. Oh, this is cool. Okay, so I want to call your attention to a few titles in translation. This is a category that's long been an important part of the Soho Crime brand identity, and these three in particular, I think, are really cool, very different kinds of things. So first, a new novel translated from Japanese by author Jose Ando, Jackson Alone. So we have a rich history, not of just translation writ large, but also specifically Japanese crime fiction, both classic and contemporary. But this Akutagawa Prize-winning novel is a striking departure from much of what we have in the catalog, and I think it delivers a really singular angle in on contemporary Japanese society. So it tells the story of a group of half-Japanese, half-Black queer men who've all been the targets of this embarrassing, vicious online revenge porn scheme, who decide to band together to find out who's responsible, and in the meantime get some payback on people who have wronged them. You know, think boyfriends, bosses, you get the picture. And they do this by exploiting the fact that no one can seem to tell them apart. It's a short little gut punch of a novel. It's deadpan, it's angry, it's tender, it's weird, it's very unexpected. A frank exploration of identity, race, and queerness in contemporary Japan that I think announces Jose as just a really singular new talent in the global literary scene. Next, translated from German, the book there in the center, Murder Mindfully. This is a series debut by Carsten Dusa. This is a really wild crime novel about a German criminal defense lawyer named Bjorn Diemel, who's been given this ultimatum by his wife. He can either repair his wildly unhealthy work-life balance, or she's going to leave them and take their daughter with her. So Bjorn reluctantly takes a mindfulness course, and to his surprise, it's kind of a revelation. He becomes calmer, he's happier, he's more focused, and he starts to understand what's really important in life. But when his worst client tries to interfere with his precious family time, Bjorn decides he's going to stop at nothing, not even murder, to protect this newfound peace. And with his mindfulness practice that he's developed, it makes these frightening, sometimes violent things he believes he has to do that much easier. And this sounds like it's maybe poking fun at meditation or mindfulness, but Carsten, the author, is a true believer in this practice. He also happens to be a lawyer. That's incidental. And this crime novel is shot through not just with Black humor and these kind of deadly high stakes that you would expect from, a humorous crime novel, but also replicable, practical mindfulness tips and techniques. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, the start to a new series. That's Murder Mindfully by Carsten Dusa. And lastly, also translated from German, the final novel in Leonie Swann's Agnes Sharp trilogy of mysteries. This is a really fun series about a group of elderly folks who've all chosen to live together and care for one another in this crumbling old estate they call Sunset Hall. So in this final installment, the group is getting together, this big plucky group of octogenarians for a wedding. One of them has decided to get married, and as they prepare for this wedding, they're gathering flowers for the bouquet. They're setting the tables at this really swanky venue, surprisingly swanky for this group. A threatening note arrives on the doorstep of Sunset Hall that seems to be marking this soon-to-be wedded couple as potentially the targets of some kind of violent act. So if you're familiar with this series, this group of old folks, they don't believe in calling the police, especially when they think that they can investigate on their own just fine. And so they decide they're going to make sure this wedding goes off without a hitch. aside from the fact that there is already just a tiny handful of bodies that they've had to hide from the bride-to-be. Hand this one to fans of Richard Osman, Helene Turstyn, Nina Simon. That's Agnes Sharp and The Wedding to Die For. That's all I have. Thank you again for your time. If you want to write me an email and request a galley, if I've got it, I'd be happy to send it to you. Please also request all of these on Edelweiss and NetGalley, and please enjoy the rest of the presentation.
Thank you so much, Rudy. Our final presenter today will be Maureen Meekins. Maureen is a marketing manager at Penguin Random House. With a degree in English and creative writing, it was always her dream to work in publishing, and she has now had the honor of working in library marketing for over 12 years. When Maureen isn't indulging in the latest horror novel or nonfiction read, you can find her chasing around her 4-year-old son or working on a project in her woodshop. Bring us home, Maureen.
Hi, and thank you so much for having me. I realize that presenting here last is very dangerous because I've just been sitting down and adding more books to my list. But I'm still excited to tell you about all the new mysteries and thrillers that we have coming in 2026. But before I dive into the books, I just want to highlight a few resources and events we have coming up. Thank you. Starting with our fall 2025 and spring 2026 mystery and thriller catalogs. These you can browse on our website for even more great books that are out now or coming soon. And you can visit the 10 URL on the slide to check out these and many more catalogs that we have by genre. Next slide. And events, don't miss these two upcoming virtual events. There's LibraryCon Live happening on November 6th and the Penguin Random House Winter Book and Author Festival on December 4th. To learn more and register, you can visit the events section of Library Journal's website using the URL on this slide. And now on to the books. Next slide, please. I'm going to start with A Gift Before Dying by Malcolm Kempt. After a botched high-profile murder investigation as a cop in Alberta, Corporal Eldrick Cole is exiled to the remote, rugged landscape of Nunavut, Canada, a vast territory in the Arctic Circle known for its untamed beauty, frigid temperatures, and perpetual darkness. Amid these harsh elements, the indomitable spirit of the Inuit people prevails. Cole's bleak existence takes a darker turn when he discovers the hanging body of Pitsiolala, a troubled 16-year-old Inuit girl who has spent countless nights passed out in the detachment cells under his watch. Her battle with addiction dredges up some demons he thought he'd buried, along with the scars of a fractured marriage and the aching divide between him and his estranged daughter, whom he abandoned long before he was ousted from northern Alberta. As Cole's life unravels, so does the fragile thread of his lone, faltering inquiry until he turns to Pitsiolala's younger brother, Maliktu, a fellow outsider shunned by his community. It's then that Cole uncovers what else binds them, the eerie, relentless visitation of Pitsiolala's ghost, haunting them both with a singular mission, to lead them to her killer and therefore expose the looming threat to other young women in their sacred hamlet. Driven by an obsessive need to redeem at least one fragment of his shattered life, Cole defies every rule in his unyielding pursuit of justice for Pitsiolala. Lee Child calls this book hypnotically good, instantly immersive, intense, and ultimately inspiring. It's perfect for your patrons who are fans of True Detective Night Country and who loved Long Right River by Liz Moore. Next slide. This is To Kill a Cook by W.M. Akers. It's tender at the bone meets Finlay Donovan is killing it, and it's hilarious. It's fast-paced. It's a mystery about a feisty food critic in 1970s New York who finds her chef friend murdered and realizes she might be the only one to find the killer. Nobody in Manhattan eats better than Bernice Black. It's 1972, and she's in the city's busiest restaurant critic, juggling her fiance and his two sons with demands of fine dining. Bernice talks fast, walks faster, has razor-sharp wit, and no patience for anything or anyone that gets in her way. When she stops by the famed restaurant of her favorite chef and mentor, early one morning, she stumbles across a horrific scene in the kitchen, his severed head perfectly preserved in a flawless mold of jellied aspic. Her meeting with the cops assigned to the case proves only one thing. They know nothing about food or the seedy underworld that BB Black has made her home. With layoffs looming, Bernice makes the gamble of her career, and she promises her editor that she can catch the killer before the week is out. To Kill a Cook is a delicious, witty, fast-paced mystery with a lovable, unforgettable protagonist at its center. It's perfect for fans of The Maid, Killers of a Certain Age, and Knives Out. Next, please. Warning Signs by Tracy Sierra is the heart-stopping second novel from the author of Night Watching, in which a father-son ski weekend becomes a desperate fight for survival. 12-year-old Zach has been invited by his father, Bram, whose business is in dire need of cash, to a father-son backcountry ski weekend to wine and dine his biggest investors. Schooled in outdoor survival by his mother, Zach is eager to prove himself to the hypercritical Bram. Maybe if Zach shows how useful he is, he can earn his father's love. But Zach knows to be on high alert around Bram, and he sees the way the group ignores the increasingly threatening conditions. For the first time in his beloved mountains, he's faced with the unknown, convinced that something watches their cabin from the tree line, something that leaves behind strange tracks and picks its prey clean. As the adults recklessly test the limits of the outdoors, Zach worries he might be in even more danger than he realized. Could the men around him prove more violent than the unforgiving weather and the strange creature lurking in the dark? Zach will have to rely on his wits if he hopes to make it home safely, but he knows all too well that the wilderness can be unpredictable even at the best of times, and at the worst, deadly. This is a high-stakes, atmospheric survival thriller that's perfect for crossover fans of horror and fans of Stephen King, Alex North, and Riley Sager. Next. Worse Than a Lie is the first novel in a riveting new thriller series from renowned civil rights attorney Ben Crump. It's the night of November 4th, 2008. America's first Black president has just been elected, and 53-year-old Hollis Montrose, a Black ex-police officer from the suburbs of Chicago, has become the latest victim of a brutal attack. He was shot 10 times in cold blood by 4 white men who otherwise would have been colleagues back in his police days. When Bo Lee Cooper, now 10 years into running his own law firm, learns about Hollis's situation, he's determined to help. Miraculously, Hollis survives the encounter, but the Chicago Police Department has already spun the narrative in their favor, and Hollis is given a wrongful prison sentence with an unreasonable bail. What really happened that night the car was pulled over? Was it random, or was Hollis targeted? Bo Lee knows he's treading dangerous waters, and finding evidence of the truth will be his biggest challenge yet. But with troubling powers at play, one innocent man's life hangs in the balance. In Worse Than a Lie, Attorney Crump is writing from his own firsthand experience, cobbling together the real-life cases that he worked on while showing the intricacies of courtroom drama and investigative work to win million-dollar cases. This page-turner is for fans of John Grisham, Stacey Abrams, Harlan Coben, and Jonathan Kellerman. And with strong themes of social justice, it's also perfect for book clubs. Next, please. Moving on to another gripping series, Crown City by Naomi Hirahara is the third book in the Japantown mystery series. Pasadena, 1903. 18-year-old Ryui Wada staggers off the boat from Yokohama, Japan, ready to invent himself after the untimely deaths of his parents. Though battling loneliness and culture shock, Ryui does his best to settle into work as an art dealer's apprentice while adjusting to his new home. From his enigmatic photographer roommate Jack to the beautiful seamstress living downstairs, Ryui finds himself surrounded by colorful characters and unbelievable opportunities, and is soon utterly swept up in all Crown City has to offer. But tensions are seething under Pasadena's bustling prosperity. Ryui is the victim of an anti-Japanese attack, and a painting is stolen from the studio of Toshio Aoki, Pasadena's most successful Japanese artist, who then hires Ryui and Jack to investigate. It's not long before their sleuthing leads them into real danger. Ryui is a naive young man in a foreign country. Has he bitten off more than he can chew? In this fish-out-of-water mystery studded with cameos by real historical figures, Edgar Award-winning Naomi Hirahara brings to life a little-known slice of California history. This book is perfect for fans of Jacqueline Winspear. Next, please. And in Sisters in Yellow, rising star Mikao Kawakami reaches new heights in this pacey, thrilling novel, a Japanese Breaking Bad, in which a group of friends fight for freedom, independence, and survival in Tokyo in the 1990s, a world rapidly dividing into haves and have-nots. All of them are fleeing something. Growing up without a father, Hana's tired of the pity in her classmates' eyes and finds a flashier mother figure in Kimiko. Kimiko is older than Hana's mother, but seems much younger, chatting easily about school and boys and wanting a better life. Fate throws them together with two more young women, bruised but not broken by life. Together, the four set out to remake their lives, fighting predatory lenders, organized criminals, and plain bad luck as they open a bar called Lemon. Keeping the business going and trying to take care of each other forms the core of this enrapturing novel. It's a story of startling reversals and vivid portraits of the matriarchy of Tokyo nightlife and its adjacent criminal underclasses. From the bar owners to the aging hostesses to the young street touts coaxing people off the street to places like Lemon, everyone wants a chance at renewal, but can everyone get it? Narrated by Hana in Kawakami's trademark, evocatively poetic style and paced like a noir, Sisters in Yellow is an epic of friendship and betrayal. Next, please. Enemy of My Enemy is something a little bit different from Los Angeles Times Book Prize winner Alex Segura in his all-new Marvel crime thriller novel for adult readers. When reports come in that the Kingpin and a police officer have been killed and that Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, has turned himself in for it, Matt Murdock senses holes in the narratives the media and the streets are quick to run with. Both criminals have been Matt's nemesis when he dons the cowl of the daredevil, and there's no denying that New York is better off without Kingpin and the Punisher behind bars. And yet, while the Punisher is a murderous vigilante, he doesn't kill cops and he doesn't turn himself in. Representing the vigilante in court, Matt enters a contest of wills and guile with Castle to try and uncover the game beneath the game. And when Matt's girlfriend takes the stand and complicates matters, there's truly no rest for the wicked or the just. As the Kingpin's absence causes passion and ambitions to run hot in Hell's Kitchen, Matt must decide if justice means the letter of the law, what's best for the citizens on the streets, or where his heart is leading him. Enemy of My Enemy continues the Marvel crime series that began with Lisa Jewell's Breaking the Dark and brings fans into a grittier street-level side of the Marvel universe. This installment is, of course, perfect for adult fans of superheroes and Marvel characters, but also anyone who reads crime, thriller, legal, and noir novels. Next, please. And introducing the trad wife debut thriller Yesteryear by Carol Claire Burke, where a traditional American woman, a beautiful wife and mother who sells her pioneer lifestyle of raw milk and farm fresh eggs to her millions of social media followers, suddenly awakens cold, filthy, and terrified in the brutal reality of 1805, where she must unravel whether this living nightmare is an elaborate hoax, a twisted reality show, or something far more sinister. This is a gripping, electrifying novel that is as darkly funny as it is frightening, and a gimlet-eyed look at tradition, fame, faith, and the grand performance of womanhood. Yesteryear is a singular reading experience, a novel with a voice and a twist like no other. Think Gone Girl, Little Bee, Room, Fight Club, and a book that defies classification. Natalie is the most exciting anti-hero since Amy Dunn. The dystopian look at contemporary womanhood calls to mind Margaret Atwood, and this book will spark conversation that just might break your book club. Next, please. And no one will be able to resist this next book, The Library After Dark from Andy Pelago, the national best-selling author of You Are Fatally Invited. In this twisty locked room mystery, a bookseller must escape the infamously haunted library that holds her darkest secrets. But with a murder in her tour group, escaping alive is not as simple as it seems. In The Library After Dark, Pelago pays homage to literature at large and has included Easter eggs to beloved classics like The Chronicles of Narnia, The Grimm Fairy Tales, Edgar Allan Poe poetry, and more. This puzzle-like story is perfect for fans of Only Murders in the Building and readers of The Only One Left, How Can I Help You, and The Wishing Game. Next, please. And last but certainly not least, we have 5 by Ilona Bannister. Someone will die here this morning at this suburban train station. It will happen in the next 5 minutes when the 706 to Victoria arrives. On a train platform, 5 strangers unknowingly face a chilling countdown. As the clock ticks down, we fall in love with the beautiful Jack who's on the verge of gambling his life away. We pity the furious old Mrs. Worth who grew up in a macabre household and so failed at being a mother. We look away from the demonic child Gideon. We judge his mother Emma, who must surely be to blame. And we are curiously compelled by the successful and damaged businessman, Liam. Each of the 5 main characters, a child, a mother, a businessman, an old woman, and a gambler, will draw you into their stories and leave you pondering, who would I pick to die? Every minute we spend watching the train get closer and closer, we delve into the story of each character and learn that the confluence of circumstances brought them right here to this moment at this station to the brink of possible death. Readers will frantically turn the page to see who will survive and who will die. New York Times bestselling author Chris Whitaker says 5 is ridiculously good, razor sharp, wickedly funny, and darkly thrilling. A gripping, chilling story that asks difficult questions about judgment, forgiveness, and the notion of cause and effect. Unforgettable. And that is it for me. Thank you so much for listening and for having me here. And for more information and to request e-galleys of the books I talked about today, you can visit the tiny URL on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maureen, and a huge thank you to all of today's wonderful panelists. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's video recording, slide presentation, title list, and a certificate of completion. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those you see here. You can also find out about the latest webinars on our social channels. Visit us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and now Blue Sky. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. A huge thank you to our panelists and to Sourcebooks, Macmillan Library Marketing, Soho Press, and Penguin Random House Library Marketing. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.